Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and welcome to the World Championship. Day 1 has indeed now concluded. What a day it was. Honestly, so many crazy matches, crazy upsets, crazy storylines. We're going to dive into it today. Very much intrigued to take your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you were new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Already up to the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that. Of course, this was the venue as it looked to start out the day. Absolutely beautiful stuff. All the crowd was in attendance. Of course, like, this is only Thursday. The crowd's going to get louder through the course of the weekends. It was starting over in Los Angeles at like, you know, noon, pretty much midday on a Thursday. So, of course, the crowd is going to get louder as the weekend does continue. But, yes, as Clayster says to start off the day, today begins an opportunity at something only 2 other people have ever gotten the chance to do. Let's see if we can make it interesting. I guess he means the back-to-back-to-back World Championship. This could be Subliner's year. And the bracket that they had was at least possible given the results they had so far this season, as indeed it does seem to be as the day continues. First series of the day, though, very interesting. I predicted Dallas to win this one, but I was not expecting it to be quite as convincing as it ended up being. Dallas come out against Rokkr and pretty much destroy them off the face of the earth. This is kind of funny actually, because just a couple of days ago now, when Astra announced that they were good, well, they didn't actually announce, they just decided to dip from the CDL. There was some discussion for the TacticalRab Academy right here, like what is the next sponsor going to be? Another listening is going to be very dodgy indeed, sponsored by some dodgy company. And the listening to this very first map with the Dallas Empire themselves was actually also very questionable. Like, Crim actually sounded like a robot. The Crimbot was certainly in full effect. They win that one though, I'm pretty sure, the Moscow, relatively comfortably. Then they go to a search and destroy, and this was just, I mean, this entire series was the Shotzzy show. Game 1, he was like 25 in 10. He started off like 11 in 1 or something ridiculous. Like, considering that this guy, there was so much talk when he was initially going to, you know, going to LAN, like, yeah, this guy's an online warrior or whatever, and even though he won the Halo World Championship on LAN, and all of a sudden he's absolutely destroying people and piecing your favorite teams up in a LAN environment. So this guy, if Dallas are playing like this, they are a serious threat to go back-to-back this weekend. It's great to see the storylines as they continue to develop. Shotzzy making some crazy plays, and they 3-0 in pretty emphatic fashion. I was not expecting it to be this clinical. I mean, this 3-0 again in the control, it was not particularly close either. And look at this slaying. This is not something you see every day from Dallas. Usually, if they win a series 3-0, 3-1, 3-2, the slaying's at least close, so they're not exactly blowing people out of the water. Shotzzy was plus 21, that's not exactly out of the question. But Crimsix and ILLey plus 10, plus 14, very impressive. And it's the ARs on Minnesota Rokkr falling shy. I mean, MajorManiak with a 0.69 and Priestahh with exactly the same KD. So those guys were not looking good at all. They needed to bounce back emphatically later in the day against Los Angeles Thieves. And, well, of course, maybe they would get that job done. We'll have a look at this here in just a couple of seconds' time. But the next series, this was a big one. Winners bracket, round 1 match. Clayster back in the subliners. I mean, Clayster at champs is always a different breeze. Clayster against OpTic, that's one of the storylines of the millennia. And he makes it happen again, man. This guy, honestly, is out of control. Start of this game, it was very comfortable for the subliners, honestly. I felt like OpTic just tend to, in champs past, have always come out relatively slow at the World Championship. This seems to be another example of it. Clay comes out right here and, well, I mean, he was just getting hyped, right? This is what Clay brings to a team. When it's going well, there's an energy that he brings to the rest of the squad, which you just can't match with any other player in the world. And that's what he brings to the table when they're doing well. When it's going badly, though, we saw, of course, what happened there with him splitting up from the team early this season, or at least departing for a while. They win game 1 comfortably, almost 100-point club them on checkmate, which is difficult to do, right, given how good OpTic are on checkmate. Game 2 was dominant as well, the express search and destroy. OpTic couldn't even find their footing, they were nowhere near. I mean, Clay's shouting across the stage, I imagine maybe a Dashy, right, because there was a bit of beef between those two right at the start of the season. But then OpTic do manage to claw their way back in the series. But it really was the search and destroys this entire day that are just so suspect for OpTic right now. The way they're playing them, it doesn't seem to be as either confident or just as well executed as they have been in the past. But to be fair, they control, they bounce back, they win a game 5 here on the checkmate control. This is where subliners have been very dodgy, so wasn't really surprised to see this happen. And then they go to an Apocalypse and they win this one as well. So it seems like Apocalypse could be somewhat of a staple pick for them going forwards now, because subliners are very good on this one. So kind of interesting, both teams kind of destroyed each other on their own good hardpoint maps. But here we go, a game 5 is brewing, and this is just one of the more ridiculous game 5s you're going to see, to be honest. This is just like classic OpTic. I couldn't believe what, like, my eyes, honestly, I thought they were deceiving me with the way that these things happen to OpTic every single time. Like, if there's one team in the game that you can predict to throw away a situation where they should have an advantage, is OpTic, right? And it's just as you can see right here. Game 5s this season, subliners 7 in 4, OpTic 4 in 7. But early on, it started out so well. Scump was like 6 in 0, he was like 7 in 0 at a time, got the artillery barrage, and that should be, if used effectively, a guaranteed round. It goes to 3-3. This was the round they decided to use it. Now, Envoy goes all the way out laundry on his own and gets picked. Now, that in itself is like just not ideal, and it's not necessarily Envoy's Envoy's fault in the sense that, like, someone should have been with him, I would argue. Like, Scump, again, he wants to stay back and use the streak, that's fine, but, like, the rest of the guys have got to push out Laundry there. If you're going to play for Laundry control, you can't just have one guy sitting there on an island. You've got to 3-push in and actually play for the gunfights, and let Scump go all the way in the back of the map and use the streak. It goes to a 2v4, then Scump uses the streak, which even then it's like, okay, well, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Doesn't get a kill with the streak. They do find 2 kills, and then Formal just gets in time to kill the bomb diffuser, but actually he doesn't. He gets there slightly too late, and the bomb gets defused by Hydra just a fraction of a second before Formal kills him. One of the more ridiculous rounds you're going to see. The way these things happen to OpTic, you simply cannot make this stuff up, but they don't make their own luck very good, let's just say that. They put themselves in tough spots, and then Subliners close out the series. Priestahh hyped, understandably so. They fend off the reverse sweep, and OpTic straight away down to losers. But of course, the way the tournament format works nowadays, losers is not as bad as it used to be. You can certainly make a run down there and make something happen because there's no disadvantage in the grand finals, for example. So certainly something that can happen. Scump, understandably frustrated. He played phenomenally well this series. Subliners, poking some fun on the timeline, most certainly, the Pine Park pack now extra salty. And, Scump says GG's New York playing Florida in a little bit later, so not too much of a response from Scump right here. But when we look at the stats from the overall of the series, we can just see what it looks like. Scump was plus 20, 96 in 76. A lot of people saying, look, this is another classic case. Scump comes to champs, plays his best squad he's played all year, as he tends to do, and gets costed by the rest of his team. So just a tough thing to say, and credit to Hydra, honestly. This guy's an absolute monster. But let's talk then about the second last series of the day. That was, Slashers Los Angeles Thieves up against the Minnesota Rokkr that they needed to try and take down. And this game one was very impressive, right? Slasher and Kenny, both on LAN. These guys always tend to turn up at these big occasions. The damage from Slasher is pretty outrageous here as well. So they both go exactly the same KD on this game number 1, checkmate hardpoint. And, they take it. Very impressive. Minnesota Rokkr, it's their hardpoint. We've been talking about a few days ago, right? People saying they're getting smoked in scrims and this type of stuff, probably because their respawn just hasn't been where it needs to be. Their hardpoint, again, very suspect indeed. They lose the game 1 right here, but bounce back pretty nicely in the search and destroy Standy with a nice 1v2 at times, and a few more rounds like this. The discipline from Rokkr is just so impressive, and that's the thing. OpTic are going to have a hard time down there in the low brackets. They're going to face a team that's very solid in search and destroy at some point or another. They've got to pull it together if they want to actually make a deep run in this tournament, because Minnesota Rokkr already down there in the lower brackets. They just won the last major. They can come back from all sorts of adversity, and wouldn't be surprised to see them do something like this again. This is funny though, going into the control. MajorManiak here on the left-hand side of the pool. He straight falls off the map like a clayster, but it's actually Minnesota Rokkr that still end up closing out this map, but then they go to a hardpoint, and this is where Slasher, I'm pretty sure he's done this before, and Garrison hardpoint just goes on a monster streak, gets them over the line, but the game 5, it doesn't work out for them. Thieves, first team out of the World Championship. They played just one series. Definitely some spice and drama we can talk about on the timeline here in tomorrow's video about what happened as a result of this series loss, but certainly Rostermania is going to be absolute chaos, no doubt. The big red button, as I like to say, is probably going to be our best friends going forwards, no doubt about that one. But yes, Thieves, 7th, 8th, first team out of the tournament, but one team would follow them not too long after. And as you can see right here, John had an absolutely woeful series. Minus 42, a 0.58, 59 and 101. Of course, look, stats aren't everything, but in this case, it's tough to see the rest of your team positive, and John getting absolutely bodied like this. He would, 21 less kills than anyone else in the lobby. That's not so ideal when SMGs are, of course, very important indeed. Let's talk then about this final series of the day. Mutineers come up with this lovely gesture to throw before their series does begin, but yes, of course, OpTic versus Mutineers, not an easy series for OpTic by any means. Often when they've gone down to the lower brackets, they get an easier shoe-in, right? They get like a team like Los Angeles Grillers or something. Seattle Surge, I don't know, even though to be fair, Seattle Surge, they're pretty good on ladders of late, but they get a series that they can maybe warm up into their low bracket run. This was not going to be so easy, but to be fair, game 1, they made it look very easy indeed. Moscow hardpoint, very dominant indeed, but this is the thing, the search and destroy looks so suspect once again. There was a lot, when OpTic were looking so good on that, on the standoff search and destroy against FaZe, for example, it was Scump and Envoy running around the map, not caring the world, playing together, playing like Simp and aBeZy, making aggressive plays, and it seems like either they got too scared to make plays like that, they were playing more individually, Dashy was throwing out some charts that maybe weren't necessary, and just throwing away rounds, right? And if OpTic keep throwing away rounds against the top teams, the search and destroy isn't going to hold up through the weekends. But to be fair, their respawn in this series was good enough to get it done. The game 3 was pretty incredible, honestly. Formal finished off. Formal, game 1 on Moscow, he went 9-9, which is who does that? And then he gets a 10 streak in a single round, pretty much, of this control right here. And the kill he got at the end was pretty ridiculous. I was hoping he was stand up and could start getting hyped or whatever, but he seems to be a bit more chill and reserved nowadays. And this of course helps them go up 2-1 in the series, and they close it out in the final game as well in a Apocalypse Hardpoint again goes their way, pretty dominant at the end of the day, and well, yes, they stay alive in the tournament. It's still possible they can make a run happen here. It's not out of the question. Teams have done it before, at least to the grand finals. It could be done again, especially if they can carry this momentum, but the Search and Destroy is going to be the key factor going forwards. If they can't turn it around, they're going to have such a tough time against some of these more disciplined squads. As Scump says, GG's FeLo 1-3-1, advance to tomorrow, playing the loser of Dallas and Toronto. Just looking at the series stats once again here. I mean, look at this. Scump once again, plus 16, 1.3 KD in the series. Dashy had a 1.32 this time, Envoy bad even, and 4 more positive as well. I mean, Scump at Champs is simply another breed. It would be a shame to see him not getting the placement I think he deserves based on his performances so far, but this is the bracket. We're going to talk about it, of course, in more detail tomorrow with a lot of other spice that's gone down as well. But yes, FaZe subliners, Ultra versus Empire. OpTic play the loser of this bottom series, and Minnesota play the loser of this top series right here. And tweet your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really upset the YouTube icon, and like you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.